everyone needed an ambulance. But my phone never stopped ringing, and we tried to help so many people, and some we could not help as well. Even my co-founder, he lost his dad during COVID itself. So it's, we understand the situation more than anyone else, that, we try to do our best that we could. People were actually using ambulances as emergency beds because the time to take the patient to the hospital had decreased. However, to get the patient admitted to the hospital had increased by about 3.5 to 4 hours. And the patient was using ambulances as proper hospital beds at that time, which means that the ambulance could not become available to another person.
How does Medulance work?
So, मैं थोड़ा सा बैक स्टोरी बताता हूँ. So when we started, the idea was Uber for ambulances चलाना है. Jyot and I went personally to speak to about, I would say, 100 business owners who ran ambulances across the country. We did checks in terms of equipment, drivers having the right certification, basic and life support certification to onboard, I would say, a fleet of about 450 ambulances in Delhi when we started.
Do you feel Shark Tank as a platform को ideally marketing ही करना चाहिए rather than, मतलब does it help to raise those small amounts of money at any point of the business?
We went on the show, then we got the offer. I would say it did uplift us. Amit Jain gave us the biggest offer on the show.
Yes,
so if you'll ask me as a founder, did that uplift you because it was linked to a monetary value? And I would say absolutely yes. और यार पैसे ना कम ज़्यादा नहीं होते. As I said, I've had learnings over the last few years, especially after raising money. When things are not going right now, you realize the value of those 40, 50 lakhs and then you realize how it can change a few things in your business.
How does India solve this permanently at scale कि इसको ज़रूरत है उसे हॉस्पिटल पहुंचा सकते हैं?
बिल्कुल यार, ये ना एक ऐसा सवाल है. इससे पहले बड़ा ज़रूरी है समझना कि सिस्टम काम कर कैसे रहा है एम्बुलेंस सर्विसेज का. So there are various stakeholders involved right now in ambulance services, and this is not only in India, it happens across the world. So there is the government firstly, where you can call on, say, the 102, 108 number to get access to free emergency help. Then there are private ambulance service providers. There are about 20,000 ambulances owned by private ambulance service providers and about 28,000 ambulances today running for the government. So ambulances की dearth नहीं है. But out of this, 85% of the ambulances lack the necessary infrastructure, equipment. Only 7% of the government ambulances are advanced life support vehicles, which are life-saving vehicles. Like, otherwise ambulances can only be used for patient transport. So advanced life support ambulance, a patient can actually be treated within the ambulances. Honestly, companies like us came into the picture because the government was not doing a good job back in the day. I'll be very honest on that.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another fascinating episode of Badhta India Dekho. आज हमारे साथ एक ऐसे गेस्ट है जिनको आपने बहुत शुरुआत में शार्क टैंक में देखा होगा और शायद आपको अभी भी याद है. यस, टुडे वी हैव प्रणव बजाज विद अस फ्रॉम मेडुलेंस. याद है वो एम्बुलेंस जो ऊबर की तरह आपके पास आधे घंटे में पहुंच सकता है. इनफैक्ट व्हाइल टॉकिंग टू हिम आई रियलाइज्ड कि दिल्ली एनसीआर में ये टाइम घट के अब 13 मिनट हो चुका है. वन लाइफ सेविंग कंपनी जिन्होंने हजारों लाइफ सेव किया है अभी तक थ्रू दिस नोबल इनिशिएटिव, while also doing really well in the business profitably. सुनना है उनका स्टोरी? आइए देखते हैं. Pranav, welcome to Badhta India Dekho. Amazing opportunity for us to know your story maybe in a little more deeper way than what we saw on Shark Tank. A very famous episode indeed. And I'm sure उसके बाद भी कहानी काफ़ी आगे बढ़ गई होगी.
Absolutely, and thank you, Debojit, for having us. I think we've been coordinating this for a while, and I think it's a pleasure to be here. Also, today Medulance completed 8 years.
Wow, congratulations
and,
from all of us. Badhta India Dekho, Car Dekho Group. Yeah. 8 years is a long time, yeah.
Yeah. We started in 2017.
Right.
And today completed 8 years.
Right. Normally the brands that come here, obviously the range varies from 6 months to 15-16 years.
Of course.
But would be interesting to know, in these 8 years that you have traversed till now, what were the worst moments that you have seen at Medulance?
I would say maybe even the last few months as well. So I think, it's a journey of 8 years. You see ups and downs. There were many times, I think, initially when our revenue was not growing, we thought of shutting this business. We actually were not finding the right revenue model. It was a very different industry where, acquiring the customer, is not that easy. It's not a service you need every day. You might need an ambulance tomorrow. You might not need in the next few years. So it does not, to replicate the Uber model is not very easy in our industry.
Right.
So I would say, but patience helped us, being very honest. I think the right things find you at times if you are patient.
Yes.
And even the last few months have been very tricky. We were running a profitable business for about 7 years. And then suddenly the company became loss making, and it did hit us slightly. So we went back to the drawing board. We want to create a sustainable business. It was always the ethos right from the beginning. And I think the last few months have taught me as a founder a lot, if you ask me.
No, I think the brand, also because of Shark Tank and the fact that it has such a noble cause attached to it, is something once you get to know about the brand, you feel already connected.
Yes.
तो एज अ फाउंडर आप बैलेंस कैसे करते हो द फैक्ट दैट इट ऑल्सो हैज़ अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट सोशल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी, पर उसके साथ हमें रेवेन्यू और प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी भी ड्राइव करना है, एंड एक दूसरे का क्लैश भी होता होगा इन दोनों चीज़ों का.
Of course.
And at that time, what do you choose? Tell us about that internal battle, if at all that is there.
See, one thing was very clear to us once we got in the space, because the industry was pretty unreliable, unresponsive, unorganized. We got into this industry to provide a affordable, quality service. If we don't stand for that, what's the point? However, as a business, it's important to make money. I would say you need to be sustainable. However, there are times when things are not going well. That's why you need to ensure, especially in our line of work, that the business always is very well funded. It has enough cash. So that when things are not going right for you, you're not compromising on quality to cut corners. So I think that's something which Ravjot and I, my co-founder, are very clear about right from the beginning. And I think, the best way is to ensure there's enough cash, but never compromise on quality. Kam kaam kar lo, I would say. But quality पे compromise मत करो, because you're dealing with people's lives at the end of it.
Shark Tank का पैसा आ गया था?
Yes.
And was it useful?
So we got the deal on Shark Tank. Namita, Piyush and Aman invested.
Yeah.
Piyush did not invest in our business.
Okay.
So Namita and Aman went ahead with the round. We brought them as a part of the bigger round that we raised. So we raised $3 million in April of last year, which was led by Alchemy Growth Capital and Dipinder from Zomato.
Right.
And Namita and Aman came on board as a part of that round.
Fantastic.
So they were also very patient, waiting, because we thought that there's no point raising those 2 crores at that time, because let's get the money at the right time, and it would help us use that much wiser.
We keep thinking that the amount that is normally shelled out on Shark Tank is to an extent insignificant for a lot of businesses, and I am saying that out in the open also कि 30-40 लाख 50 लाख 1 करोड़ में कुछ खास business आगे नहीं बढ़ता है, but obviously you get a lot of marketing and visibility for the brand. तो do you feel Shark Tank as a platform को ideally marketing ही करना चाहिए rather than, मतलब does it help to raise those small amounts of money at any point of the business?
Absolutely, yeah. One thing I can tell you, the confidence that you get when you get a deal on the show and it's linked to a monetary value uplifts you as a founder. And I have seen that personally. If you'll ask me, we were not thinking of raising more money. We went on the show. Actually, we were pretty hesitant to go on the show initially. My co-founder pushed me. I was like, यार पता नहीं क्या बोल देंगे शो पे, हम इतने साल से काम कर रहे हैं. We built a good brand name. Imagine this is something I'd seen season 1, especially Ashneer saying a few things. I was like, man, if he says something to my organization, I would not be able to take it.
Digest
and but then I got convinced that we are in firstly a line of work and doing a decent job, right, at what we are. And I think deal नहीं भी मिलेगी तो कोई diss नहीं करेगा हमें. So once I got convinced about that, we went on the show. Then we got the offer. I would say it did uplift us. Amit Jain gave us the biggest offer on the show. Yes, so if you'll ask me as a founder, did that uplift you because it was linked to a monetary value? And I would say absolutely yes. और यार पैसे ना कम ज़्यादा नहीं होते. As I said, I've had learnings over the last few years, especially after raising money. When things are not going right now, you realize the value of those 40-50 lakhs and then you realize how it can change a few things in your business. So I would say yes, money always should be the criteria on the show, because it can uplift the
Brand.
founder like no
Founder.
other. I know there are stories that people come on the show for marketing, other aspects as well. That's the beauty of how the concept is. But taking that monetary value linked to the show would take away everything. I feel for a founder or an entrepreneur.
It's very important you are saying. थोड़ा प्रणव आप अपनी कहानी बताइए. Where did you start from? And a little bit of early childhood days also. And till the time Medulance happened 2017 में.
Yeah, so I've been born, brought up in Delhi. I did my schooling from modern school Barakhamba. I've been a complete Delhiite. I always had plans to move to other cities. It never happened. I would say I was very interested in sports. So I played a lot of cricket till about 10th grade. I wanted to become a cricketer. There was a time I wanted to even become a tennis player. And play the Wimbledon one day. I would say, Roger Federer's biggest fan. I take inspiration from him on a daily basis. Yeah. While he was playing in,
unbelievable person.
Yeah. I would say that's one person I think about on maybe a day-to-day basis. A little too obsessed. And I was a good student as well. I think my parents also always molded me that way that I should focus on my studies. I was I would say, a above average student. Used to come first and second in my class. However, going back, I know उसकी कोई value नहीं होती है.
Ask me. I run an education company.
I would love to know your story as well. And उसकी कोई value नहीं होती है because when you realize 10th में इतने marks आए थे, 12th में इतने आए थे, and it's not contributing to anything in your life later on, you would be like कुछ और कर लेता. I had some other skills at that time. So post that, I did my graduation from Shahid Sukhdev College of Business Studies. It's again a good reputed college. There was an entrance examination. They had an interview. I was like, oh, it's a little different from not only a college looking at your marks itself. And then I would say I got an amazing bunch of people to study within that college. I think that's what transformed me slightly. I was more of an introvert, throughout school, playing sports, studies, not doing other activities. College actually opened a few other doors for me. And I think that's when we started getting into conversations about startups as well. Right. But in college, it was still about getting placed on the first day of campus with companies like Bain, BCG, McKinsey. उसी के लिए हम काम करते थे कि भाई day zero में place होना है तब बंदे की value होगी. Otherwise उसके बाद जो place होते हैं, they are the last bits. And then something interesting happened. Zomato, this company came on campus to do their first campus placement ever. Achha. Dipinder and Pankaj themselves had come in to our college to hire.
This was which year?
2011. Okay. 2012 I started working with them. 2011 they came on
campus. How many people got hired that day?
About 4 people from my college. And they were also looking at freshers for the first time, I'm sure. And as I said, Dipinder Pankaj came themselves. They conducted their group discussions in a very different manner, which was not the usual Bain McKinsey style. And just a backstory to this, someone told me I had not gotten placed on those day zero, day one, McKinsey, Bain didn't happen for me. And then someone said, yeah, this company is coming, Zomato. I said, ye kya hai bhai? And he said, achhi company hai. And I had no idea about startups at that time. And I read a little bit, I saw their website. It was a food and nightlife guide at that time, no delivery. Yes. And somehow things worked out. I got placed at Zomato. Now going back, I know ऐसा क्यों हुआ होगा. तब मुझे नहीं समझ आ रहा था that why this happened. And I think then I got my first job with them in 2012. I started working with them. It was an incredible experience, I would say. Today I'm an entrepreneur because I went to Zomato, I would say. I saw how the culture was.
How long did you work there?
For 3.5 years.
Not bad, first job.
Yes. I was ultimately leading the company's business development activities in the Delhi-NCR region. Crazy. Again, changed my personality, I would say. The introvert that I was, now doing sales in Zomato, had to transform. Not by choice, but because of the nature of the job that I was in. And it took me a while. First 6 months, I think the company wanted to fire me for sure because they were like, ye nahi kar payega. And then I think something happened and I had a good mentor in Zomato as well.
You would have seen them grow very fast also. That was the phase.
Absolutely, absolutely. I would say the way they function, the levels of ownership that I saw.
What is different in Zomato? As an outsider, would be great to know for the audience.
Yeah, I would say, Dipinder also and the company keeps talking about culture. once you're there, there are systems that they've built, I think, and with those systems, the culture functions very differently. The kind of ownership levels that, you know, I've seen in the company, in young graduates getting their first job, you know, working for their ass off for the company. No one tells you to do that. It just happens when you are in that environment and you see everyone doing it. It's a high functioning environment, I would say. And it's just something that happens. Of course, you know, people who don't want to do it, they filter out. I was one of them who could have been filtered out, I would say. But then I saw, you know, what it's worth. And I think the founders were also very committed. They kept a very transparent culture. They used to keep communicating about ups and downs that are happening within the organization as well. That's something I picked up. To be very honest, I picked up, and I've not seen a lot of companies still do that. People are not transparent enough. So they were very transparent. I still remember a story when, you know, Dipinder and Pankaj had sold some shares. They got a secondary exit. You know, so you get a chance to make some money as a founder. It's one of those glory days that some people wait for. They did an announcement in office that, you know, that this has happened. They called everyone that now, you know, you'll see some money, maybe a different car, that, you know, अब मैं Alto चलाता था, मेरी improve हो जाएगी from that matter. And it's amazing to see that transparency with the employees. Of such a personal thing. Absolutely, and that just builds a huge connect, I would say, with the employees, which is unparalleled.
Fantastic. So Zomato happened till what, 2015? 2015
end, and तब मैं सोचता रहता था. I had a group of people. We used to keep thinking about business ideas. You know, I saw that the scrap uncle person had come on the show. This was another idea that we had thought of. There was a friend of mine at Zomato. We thought of this idea. We named the company Junk Hawkers. Never did anything. Mukul Chabra, yeah, he had come on the show. So I was saying something similar we thought of in 2015, but we never did. Then I thought we'll open a nightclub called Industry as well. Didn't happen. Then I quit my job to study for my GMAT. The idea was very simple. I'll go for my MBA, do the regular thing. And I wanted to also get out of Delhi simultaneously because I've always been in Delhi. So this was my opportunity to finally maybe go abroad, get out of the city. But somehow it was never meant to be. I would say I gave my GMAT twice, did not get the kind of scores that I expected. However, that's when I met Ravjot as well, my co-founder now. And business ideas always aate rehte the.
Where was he at that time?
Yeah, he was running his dad's business of retail Nike stores.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he had a tech background as well. So he'd made a few apps that didn't work back in the day. And he shared his personal story with me about losing his grandfather due to the unavailability of an ambulance service.
That's the story we heard on Shark Tank.
Yes, he told me exactly क्या हुआ था, कैसे हुआ. And I was like, यार ये problem तो है, जो भी कह लो. And we did one thing. I went back home, subscribed to something very simple, Google Alerts. So उस पे आप keywords पे subscribe कर सकते हो, ambulance Delhi. So you get a list populated every day. And I was like, man, this is being printed in the National Daily, E-News on a day-to-day basis कि लोगों को ambulance मिलती ही नहीं है. You know, some person is even transporting a dead body of his father on his shoulders. This was a story that had come out. People were not getting access to emergency help. People would keep calling numbers. No one would answer. There were stories being, even आज भी आप करोगे तो आपको मिल जाएंगी. And then I was like, यार कुछ तो करना चाहिए. By that time, platforms like Ola and Uber had come in, taken advantage of, I would say, something as simple as geolocation to provide people with faster cabs. I thought, why can't we do this in an industry where time is more relevant? And that's what I would say led to the birth of Medulance in 2017. And we started working on it a year before itself, and then formed a private limited company
in 17. So you did not do your postgrad after that?
No, not at all. Then the plans got scrapped. So I also come from a business family.
Okay.
However, but my family always wanted me to do a job, and they said that's where you will be more secure. And I think they also wanted me to get more experience, which actually going back worked. तब मुझे लगता था कि यार, why are you saying this? Otherwise, I would not have landed up in Zomato. Going back, that's where the lining came from and the learnings came from. But obviously, the MBA never happened, and here we are.
As a fellow founder, would you suggest कि जो youngsters हैं उन्हें 3-4 साल job करके फिर entrepreneur बनना चाहिए, या how many years, या fresher में ही आप jump कर सकते हैं into this?
Yeah, one thing I keep saying when people ask me a similar question is that there is no right or wrong thing. Every individual is very different. I have a friend, he's running a fabulous tea business. Was very clear in his head कि मुझे कभी जॉब नहीं करना. वो कॉलेज से ही बोलता था यार कि मुझे कभी जॉब नहीं करना. He was from a business family. Family was in the tea business. He set up his own brand, is doing really well now. However, I would say one advice, as you said, to fellow founders or young people starting up is don't replicate other people's journeys. Find what works for you, because learn from other people's mistakes, but do not try to replicate their journey. मैं भी पहले देखता था यार किसी ने तो स्टार्टअप शुरू किया, 2 साल में फंडिंग रेज कर ली. Is this success? I thought that was success. Going back today, having raised money last year, I think it has nothing to do with success or validation. You know, it's maybe the opposite. Running a good business is running a good business. Running a profitable business is what is more important. So I would say that every individual is different. They should learn from people's mistakes, try not to replicate them, but set their own path.
Don't mimic the story, basically.
Don't mimic the story. You can't. You can't, as per me. उससे टेंशन और स्ट्रेस और होगा. तो उससे दूर रहो. If you feel you don't have the necessary skills, yes, the best thing to do is work for a startup. 100%. I learned it. So I would say that that's the advice I would give, but not necessarily.
You can only connect the dots. Problem here, looking backward. Right?
Absolutely, exactly. वो स्टीव जॉब्स ने बढ़िया बात बोली है. मैं कह रहा हूँ काफी बढ़िया बातें बोली हैं. But this is again one of those things, right?
Yeah.
2 things he says. I think this is one, and the other is that the vision pulls you.
Yes.
So once you have it, I think it all comes to place together.
Yes. हमें एज अ जनरेशन, एज अ सोसाइटी नॉर्मली सीखने की आदत है गलती करके, राइट? Unless there are very scared people who would just look at everyone and say अरे सब कुछ ही गलत होगा तो I would not do anything.
Yeah.
Right? On the other hand, in a founder's journey, when you take up that journey, you almost kind of know that half of the things, or maybe 75% of the things that you do will go wrong.
Yes.
You will have to catch that one success and then make it big.
Absolutely.
Right? So from your journey till now, first,
and sorry to cut you, someone says this also, and you know, obviously it's so true, that the people who really do well in life from an entrepreneurial point of view are the ones who are making maybe more mistakes,
yes,
but they are closing them down much faster and
Yes.
not repeating them.
yes.
So you know, that's the key here, I would
The
say.
quotation goes like, the fastest way to success
Yeah.
is failures.
Exactly.
And if you can't,
And not repeating them again.
Yes.
Not making अलग दूसरी मिस्टेक कमिट करो, सेम गलतियां करोगे तो कोई फायदा नहीं है, is what I would say.
Yeah, repeating is then incapability.
Exactly.
And not a mistake anymore.
Then you've not learnt anything, na?
Yes. So as a leader, what's your style? मतलब अभी तो I'm assuming company has reached a certain scale also. We'll talk about numbers also.
Yes.
आपका स्टाइल क्या है अपने कंपनी को संभालने का?
Yeah, I would say style has transformed over a period of time. One thing I learned from one of my mentors at Zomato, who told me, and I think that's the term that has stayed with me. Then I read about it, what it actually means, and maybe that's who I am as a leader. He said that I am an instinctive leader. And I think what it means is that, you know, sometimes people can go by their gut and also adapt to situations, and also have a tendency to know what people are thinking and, you know, how, the best way to work with them. And I think that's what my leadership style is. Of course, an instinctive leader has to be very careful. He has to keep learning, has to be open to learning new things simultaneously. And I would say now we have a well-defined executive team in Medulance. It's important to put right people in the right places as well. And I think now my job is to ensure that the executive team functions perfectly, especially in the line of work we are. We need to have a well-defined operations department, finance, tech, everything. Have specific people leading those positions, and, you know, of course, leading from the front is most important. So you have to ensure that even though you're working with people smarter than you,
in their field,
you have to find a way to tell them how they can do the same things better. And if you honestly, and you come up with those things running a business, because when you started, you've had that 8 years of experience. Someone might be smarter than you, someone might have more knowledge on a particular dimension or an area, and that's when I say instinctive leader, right? But then you're still able to figure out things that that person can do better, and I think that's what my job even right now.
Have you made hiring mistakes?
Sorry?
Have you made hiring mistakes?
Too many. Too many, I would say. And I used to think that I'm good at hiring. I think that's my weakest point right now. And I've heard this statement also that people who lead very big companies are doing the hiring job very well.
Yeah.
And they're, running an HR position. They're running the role of a HR head in the organization. But I think I'm horrible at hiring. And someone should take that away from me. But I would say that I've learned why those hires did not work. I used to go maybe by experience, by resume, learning. Even having worked at Zomato, I used to feel that वो मैं culture वाला angle जब खुद की company चला रहे होते हो तो भूल भी जाते हो कई बार. You're like नहीं यार, he's done this for someone else, he'll be able to do this for me also. But sometimes that doesn't work. You have to build leaders within the company, I would say, and that's the best way to.
जब भी hiring mistake करी है तो उसके बाद how did you correct it? मतलब let's say the wrong person is in the system and at a relatively important position.
अभी भी कर रहा हूँ. If you'll ask me, अभी भी कर रहा हूँ. अभी भी I don't know if I'm improving.
ये सुन रहे हैं.
हाँ.
आपकी टीम वाले.
बिल्कुल, and they know it, right? Because I in my town hall have many a time say that when someone leaves the company and why maybe they were not the right fit, and maybe it's also a mistake on me to have got them on board, because what happens is sometimes the company moves backwards if you hire the wrong person. So it's my personal responsibility to ensure that I am informing everyone. And I think I'm also passing the baton slightly to a different person. I want to be involved in ensuring that I'm part of the executive team hiring, and I think I've taken a lot of inputs now from stakeholders, investors, trying to improve there as well. But I think that I'm fine with making mistakes, but at least not committing the same mistakes again.
Got it. थोड़ा अपना business चलता कैसे है ये बताइए audience को. How does Medulance work from an operation perspective, tech perspective? Model क्या है?
So मैं थोड़ा सा back story बताता हूँ how the model transformed over a period of time. So when we started, the idea was Uber for ambulances चलाना है. We aggregated private ambulance service providers. Ravjot and I went personally to speak to about, I would say, 100 business owners who ran ambulances across the country. They had a fleet of about 5 to 10 ambulances of their own. We did checks in terms of equipments, drivers having the right certification, paramedics having the right basic and life support certification to onboard, I would say, a fleet of about 450 ambulances in Delhi when we started. Serviced about 3,000 patients. Then realized, it's a very different service. The general customer acquisition model doesn't work here. Today, if I market myself to even ensure that Debojit knows about Medulance, you can't start using my service immediately. You might need an ambulance tomorrow. You might not need in the next few years for that matter.
Yeah.
So it becomes very important to how to target the audience the right way, because even if you use my service, it's not going to be a recurring service. So you understand from a general customer acquisition. But I'm saying the general customer acquisition model doesn't work
very
here.
Different, correct.
So how do you build a sustainable business yet ensure that you solve the problem of recall, and the person should know, and I keep using this term, that we entered this space because help should be given when it matters the most. And that's why we did this. So we slightly pivoted to a B2B model, wherein we started working with commercial residential facilities, corporate organizations. We would park our ambulances for a captive audience. This way we could provide a response time of less than 5 minutes to any emergency within the workplace itself.
True.
And then map it to the closest hospital. At least, again, that audience will get an ambulance within 5 minutes. So, what we wanted to do was somehow achieved. Then we realized that not everyone's going to park their ambulances for their facilities. Imagine a corporate having 500 to 1,000 employees cannot afford to park an ambulance. Does not make sense as well. But then we activate clinics, which we call as medical rooms or medu-clinics today, within those facilities itself, where we'll have doctors or paramedics who are capable of providing first aid, emergency support whenever you need help. And they can activate the emergency response as and when required. And then we also cover employees of companies today, and we've integrated this service with insurance at scale to cater to the emergency needs of a person when they are not within the workplace as well. So imagine you are a employee of, say, Car Dekho, for example. You can call us on a dedicated number irrespective of location and time in more than 50 cities in the country, and it's also open to your family members. So that way we could solve for recall. Now with an ambulance standing, setting up a clinic and then providing a service which is extended beyond the workplace, we could solve for that recall factor and also ensure that people know they can get help from Medulance whenever they need that. And then over a period of time, the model transformed. We also today have a government vertical where we manage emergency response for the government in Delhi. For that, for example, we manage about 240 ambulances for the government alone. The government is going to be a very key player. So I would say subscription is how we work, and that's the way even we'll penetrate the B2C market. It's going to be more B2B, B2C, but integrations with stakeholders, strategic partnerships with companies like say Tata 1mg, Practo are very important for us, MediBuddy, because we want to become the backbone of emergency response for every individual for that matter. And the best way to do it is by working with companies who already have a huge captive audience.
So give me a breakup of what is the percentage share, let's say by city or revenue of people of B2B versus B2C right now?
So B2C is only about 5 to 8% of our business. Rest is all B2B.
B2B. And do you have any specific kind of companies that you tie up with, or is it?
No, it's anyone and everyone. Honestly, initially it was that you target large scale companies. Then we realized, of course, as we are also, it's been 8 years, the awareness levels have also went up in terms of people giving importance to emergency response, ambulatory care services, even healthcare as a whole. And I think, that's also opened the target market for us. We work with schools, colleges, hospitals are a key segment for us. I miss that. We manage emergency response on behalf of hospitals as well. I would say in the next 5 years, hospitals would outsource their emergency response to a more reliable company. Not necessarily to Medulance, I would say, but to a more reliable, structured organization. Because their main job is to मतलब उनका ना clinician वाला काम है. So pre-hospital care can be managed by someone else, and that also helps the hospital because it takes their brand to the people the right way, and they can allows them to do their job really well.
Yes, and they can do what they're really there for.
Yes.
And not manage the rest of the logistics. Absolutely right. कोई कहानी बताओ यार प्रणव, given that your business line is so different, so I'm sure there must be a lot of very, very touching stories that your brand comes through.
बिल्कुल यार, आई वुड से दैट व्हेन वी स्टार्टेड ना, हमें पता कैसे चला कि ये मॉडल काम करेगा. ठीक है, जिस दिन हमें वो रियलाइज हुआ कि यार कंपनी तो खोल ली है, पर क्या इसकी वैल्यू लोग करेंगे, इज दिस अ सर्विस जो लोगों तक पहुंच रही है. सो वी हैड अ हेल्पलाइन नंबर 8882978888. वी एडवर्टाइज इट ऑन गूगल. दैट टाइम वी रैन एडवर्ड्स एज वेल बिकॉज वी वांटेड टू सी इफ आवर मॉडल वर्क्स. Delhi-NCR में हमने एग्रीगेट कर ली थी एम्बुलेंसेज. I used to pick up calls at that time when we started. So this was 2017. We had 4 people in our call center team, including me and Debojit also, because हमारा काम ही यही था कि calls आएं और हम उनको address करें. So this lady called us from Faridabad. It's a place in Delhi-NCR. She said my grandmother has fallen. Grandmother or mother, I can't recall, had fallen. And she's in the office, so she informed her, and she said that suddenly the phone got cut, and can you send an ambulance to my address? And we dispatched the closest ambulance, and she had already told me कि हमने 2-3 जगह call करा है, and they've said कि मुझे समझ नहीं आ रहा कि ambulance पहुंचेगी कि नहीं. And I said that we'll do our best. We dispatched the closest ambulance to her mom's house. Because that's the service we started, that you can dispatch the closest possible emergency vehicle to your location. Because hospital तो आपको पता होता है, closest ambulance नहीं पता होती. So we dispatched that ambulance, and trust me, at that time it reached within 13 minutes. And we were also building our network, and then the ambulance reached. By that time the lady had also reached back to her house, and the ambulance took her mother and took her to the hospital in the fastest possible time with her, and she survived. And I would say that was the time I told Ravjot that this model works. That help should be given when it matters the most, and this is how we will do it. And of course, the way to reach out to the customer has changed, but the reason why we started and the basic service line was still to dispatch the closest possible ambulance to your location. And I think that's the day we realized that we were at least onto something. And we might be able to transform the
आपके इस फील्ड में कंपटीशन है?
Of course.
what kind of players are there right now?
So I would say there are new age ambulance companies, that's how I break it down, and players who've been working with legacy companies जो government के साथ काम कर रही हैं. So out of the new age ambulance players, the biggest company in the space right now would be Red Health, and then there are other companies like Dial 4242. In the same space, Red Health is based out of Hyderabad, Dial 4242 is based out of Mumbai. Then there are companies in the government space, Zikitsa Healthcare, GVK, who have revenues of above, I would say, 500-600 crores an annum, working only for the government. And yeah, I would say still there are new companies coming in daily that you see, which is always good for the industry, I would say. But yes, there is competition, and I would say it's a mix of private and government.
Recently had Blinkit also launching their ambulances.
Yes.
And we had a failure story also that got quite viral.
Absolutely.
Where the person was taken but couldn't survive, and because there was no paramedic help within the ambulance. What's your impression on Blinkit launching this service?
I think it's great. If you'll ask me, it brings a lot of spotlight to the industry. Blinkit has access to a wide captive audience. I told you this before as well. Whoever has access to a wide captive audience, should enter into this space. We can always leverage Blinkit's technology. Blinkit is not going to be the person running the ambulance. They're always going to have the right people running it for them. And that's what I would like to say. So that opens up an opportunity for companies like Medulance or anyone else to partner with Blinkit to again ensure that they are on the same mission to make ambulatory care services more affordable, accessible, universally acceptable to the end audience. And I think if they are on the same mission, it brings the right kind of spotlight to the industry, and it's very good for companies like us.
How does your normal day look like? Are you involved still on some of the stories that are happening on the ground, or what? How does a normal week look like now?
Yeah, 100%. I am part of all escalation groups. Everything that goes wrong comes to me. Because me and Ravjot took the business to so many companies initially. They still reach out to us if something goes wrong, whenever it does. And I think I do play a troubleshooter's role, even today. You can ask people who work with me in Medulance. I think it's very important for me to keep doing that. That's another key role that I have taken up, to ensure that I'm looking at all kinds of escalations. Especially in our line of work, it's very important because there is, in a way, zero tolerance, if you understand, for error from a customer's point of view. You can do 1,000 good cases, but that one case that goes wrong can bring you down immensely. So we have to keep uplifting our team as well, and keep fixing maybe different problems that come up in our line of work. And I think I'm always playing the troubleshooter's role as well.
इंडिया में ये सॉल्व क्यों नहीं हो पाया प्रणव, मतलब एट स्केल? जैसे आई थिंक 3 Idiots में बहुत फेमस डायलॉग था कि पिज्ज़ा आ जाता है आधे घंटे में, पर एम्बुलेंस नहीं आ पाता है. And even today, with a lot of services coming in, it's a lot better, thankfully, touch wood, from before. But then there are tier 2, 3, 4 cities where there is still a lot of struggle.
Yeah.
What do you think is the answer? Do you think a lot of players should come into this space, or players like you should expand, or there needs to be more tech into this? How does India solve this permanently at scale कि इसको ज़रूरत है उसे हॉस्पिटल पहुंचा सकते हैं?
बिल्कुल यार, ये ना एक ऐसा सवाल है, इससे पहले बड़ा ज़रूरी है समझना कि सिस्टम काम कर कैसे रहा है एम्बुलेंस सर्विसेज का. So there are various stakeholders involved right now in ambulance services, and this is not only in India, it happens across the world. So there is the government firstly, where you can call on, say, the 102, 108 number to get access to free emergency help. Honestly, companies like us came into the picture because the government was not doing a good job back in the day. I'll be very honest on that front. Then there are hospitals who have their own ambulances. They only send the ambulance when the patient wants to come into their own hospital. Even though they have a fleet, but they would necessarily only send the ambulance when the patient is coming into their own hospital. Then there are private ambulance service providers. There are about 20,000 ambulances owned by private ambulance service providers, and about 28,000 ambulances today running for the government. So ambulances की dearth नहीं है. But out of this, 85% of the ambulances lack the necessary infrastructure, equipments. Only 7% of the government ambulances are advanced life support vehicles. which are life-saving vehicles. Like, otherwise ambulances can only be used for patient transport. So advanced life support ambulance, a patient can actually be treated within the ambulance itself. And then there are NGOs who are providing...
All of yours have advanced life support?
No. We have a majority of our ambulance fleet as advanced life support, I would say, but we don't run any patient transport vehicles.
Understood.
We run either basic life support, advanced life support, which are good enough for emergency cases.
Sure.
And then there are NGOs who were doing God's work in a way, providing free ambulances to the people through CSR activities, but were not able to scale. And of course, they're dependent on CSR funds. And I told you the nature of the industry as well. From a customer point of view, don't need the service every day. तो पहला तो problem था कि recall. उसके बाद अगर आपको recall भी आपने solve कर लिया तो किसको call करना है, अगर call किया भी है तो is he a reliable player or not? That's what the biggest problem was. That's how the industry became unreliable, unresponsive. Then the other challenge in India is traffic. ठीक है कि ambulance time से नहीं पहुंच पाती because traffic is the key problem. Then there is shortage of manpower. So all of this was not allowing anyone to solve the problem at scale. Now that this problem has been identified, I would say the best way to solve this is, because the government is still going to be the biggest player in EMS in any country for that matter. Healthcare में government का बहुत बड़ा role रहता है. So public-private partnership, at scale providing the right kind of quality is the best way to solve for this, if you'll ask me. कि ये पूरा solve कैसे होगा? Even companies like us can come in. Maybe we can do it in 50 cities, 60 cities. Then maybe start, taking our services to more cities. But that's going to take time, especially because of the nature of the industry. But if we can find a way to work with the government more quickly in different states, take our learnings, take our tech, which we believe is better than what they're existingly using, and then help the government do their job better. And they already have huge budgets for it. I think that's the way a public-private partnership is the solution to EMS in India. And Debojit, across the world also, 911, people keep talking about they do a fabulous job. They also don't run the services themselves. They outsource it to a private company. Ambulances are managed by someone else. However, of course, they don't have the problem of shortage of staff, trained manpower, traffic, having the right kind of tech and infrastructure inside the ambulances. But the public-private partnership is how 911 today is also leading the way.
What do you do? There must be, I'm sure, a certain percentage of deaths while carrying the patient in the ambulance. How do you deal with such cases?
Yeah, pehle na, you can't say that someone has died in an ambulance. Only a doctor can.
But a paramedic would have
They don't have the right to call a person dead. Only a doctor can say that. And in my 8 years, we've seen very few cases where I would say a person has died in the ambulance.
Okay.
To be honest, maybe the person was already dead, and the ambulance picked up that patient. When I say the worrisome part would be if it happened due to medical negligence inside the ambulance, or the paramedic did something which they should not have. And those are very limited cases. And of course, I'm not saying that would not have happened. That does happen at times if you're handling the huge amount of cases that we do today. But it's very important to act upon them and know that it should not be repeated. However, I would say that I've personally not seen a lot of deaths happening inside the ambulance. Maybe it was something where due to delayed emergency response, the person had passed away before. Or, when they reached the hospital, the doctor said that, the patient was maybe brought in dead or then, died much later. However, as you know, in cardiac cases of stroke, the golden hour is very important.
Yes.
And that's where I would say more life-saving vehicles need to be on the roads in India, which are capable of at least ensuring that they can provide the right kind of pre-hospital care. And that's the best we can do. You understand?
Yeah.
Of course, जब आपके पास time ही बहुत कम है and you get the right kind of support, beyond that you can't do anything. You understand? Because in the ambulance also, a patient can be treated, but you can't operate the patient. They have to be taken to the hospital and you need to take them to the clinician in the fastest possible time. So my job still would be to ensure that Medulance becomes an expert in pre-hospital care and takes the patient to the hospital in the fastest possible time.
ये accident cases भी deal करते हैं आप जैसे?
Of course, yeah. So we, as I said, work with the government. We work in the private sector. There are a huge amount of accident cases that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. Their time is also very important. And the Good Samaritan law, since it's come in, has helped a lot.
Yes.
That people are no longer scared to help accident cases, call an ambulance, call the police, whoever needs to be called when something happens. Because back then people were scared. And I think Save a Life Foundation, I would like to give credit to them, played a massive role in bringing the Good Samaritan law into action in India.
Understood. In terms of the happy outcomes that come in where a patient was carried out, mainly in terms of cardiac arrest and strokes, where the patient reaches on time, do you also have cases where people have come back to you thanking you for the timely help and maybe gone out of their way to spread the brand and therefore word of mouth from there in the future?
Absolutely, yeah. One to many people, and I'd like to share a story. And I would say COVID happened. It exposed vulnerabilities in the healthcare sector, not only in India, across the world. That time, everyone needed an ambulance. Literally, everyone needed an ambulance. And I would love to show you. I have some screenshots of my phone.
Please share them. We'll put them
up. Never used to stop ringing, and I could not even my personal number was shared everywhere because there was no way. I had to take up that role and call people personally, and someone in some family would know me, so they would share my number ki isko call kar lo, and from there, maybe within a few months, by the time the second wave happened, my number was shared everywhere. And I would like to even say this, that even my co-founder, he lost his dad during COVID itself. So it's, we understand the situation more than anyone else, that we try to do our best that we could. But my phone never stopped ringing, and we tried to help so many people, and some we could not help as well. So jitna acha lagta hai at times that you are helping. We at that time I was like, yaar itne logo ko help hum nahi bhi kar pa rahe, because some things were not in our control at that time. Oxygen, other bits, right? People were actually using ambulances as emergency beds, because the time taken to take the patient to the hospital had decreased. However, to get the patient admitted to the hospital had increased by about 3.5 to 4 hours. And the patient was using ambulances as proper hospital beds at that time, which means that the ambulance could not become available to another person. So, that time it was pretty, we used to kill ourselves कि हम घर पे बैठे हैं, our guys are on ground, and we are trying to do our best, answering every call, but there are still so many people who could not get access to help. But yes, going back to what you said, यार बहुत खुशी मिलती है when someone says. I think that's why we are also in this. When you even that one call, that yaar, thank you so much, you helped us. You don't even know that person at times, and them even writing a recommendation or just putting in a good word, even saying thank you helps at times. We don't expect, because imagine some time back they were thinking that their own care seeker was in trouble, and I think that's good enough for us at times. And these are the success stories why we even started this company, and I think we want them to keep coming. That's a motivation for not only myself but for my entire team, even drivers and paramedics who are the real heroes on a day-to-day basis, to know that the work that they do ultimately has outcomes that we can talk positively about.
Fantastic. We'll come to the last part of the podcast. It's the rapid fire section. I have a few questions for you. Objective is just to be honest and quick in reaching that. Whenever you're ready, we can start?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so Pranav, profit or purpose, what drives you more?
Yeah, purpose. I think it's very clear. I don't even want to fake this, and there's no way. I am in this industry. It's definitely been purpose for me.
What do you think is more harder to solve in India, a tech problem or a human problem?
I would say human problem, especially because of the scale, the amount of people we have, diversity, and I feel that people come in with their own emotions as well, which sometimes you can't put it in a structure or a framework. Maybe you can do that to a tech problem. It's impossible to handle that.
Everyone has their own baggage. One shark you would love to go on a road trip with?
Definitely Aman Gupta, and maybe it can be a boat trip, and he can get good music on his boat.
It's fun to be with him. I also realized that. Private or public healthcare? Where is the future of EMS in India?
I told you this. I think public-private partnership is going to be the future of EMS. The public sector.
Have you approached the government?
So we are working with the government
Already.
in Delhi. I already told you. We also
Yes.
work with PSUs at scale.
Okay.
So as I said, we want more opportunities to work with other governments as well.
Got it. Startup you would love to collaborate with?
I would say maybe a lot of companies with huge customer bases, because we want to capture huge captive audiences I spoke about. So
Right.
any companies that have huge customer bases
bases.
is going to be, the kind of companies we want
Most
to work with.
underrated feature in your app? Very useful but underrated.
Yeah, I would say Medulance app ना हमने पहले launch करी थी. I don't know if a lot of people now. I am extinguishing it.
Okay.
Because unless we can add more features on the app, because voice of trust is something which is very
The
important
helpline important.
in this industry, because you need to speak to someone, and I would love to, maybe if we have an opportunity, showcase it to the audience as well, that if you call on a Medulance helpline today, you can get access to speak to an emergency doctor immediately, which an app can't do. You can have tracking sent to your phone via an SMS also. So I recommend people not to have an app, because वो delete कर देंगे यार 6 महीने बाद, वो use नहीं करेंगे unless I add more features. So save the number, and voice of trust is what is important.
What is the number right now?
888-297-8888, and then we have separate numbers for
That has
other-
stayed from the very beginning.
Yes.
Right? This number.
Yes.
I remember it on Shark Tank also. One myth about ambulances that needs to be killed today.
that ambulances are for the dead and dying. They're only used to ferry dead or dying people, is what the myth was. I think ambulances today need to become life-saving vehicles. They already are. They can replace ICU beds in the hospital. Not replace them, they can act as ICU beds
For
in the
some
hospital
time.
as well. And I think with the advent of the 5G smart ambulance that we launched, we can even maybe replace the hospital for at least a few hours as well.
Okay. Who is the real hero in your eyes? Is it the doctors? Is it the dispatchers? Is it the drivers? Or is it the founders like yours?
Yeah, dispatcher for sure, because he is the person again providing the voice of trust. He is in touch. He has to do his job, plus have that emotional bandwidth to be in touch with someone plus he's away from the scene. So sometimes I feel that person is so away from the scene. Drivers and paramedics are on ground. I know they are dealing with the patient, but he is in touch with the customer at all times till the ambulance reaches. And I think he's the real hero, because he has to handle that, emotionally, as well as being, completely right there when it comes to emergency service.
Great. If you ever start another startup, what would that be about?
Something related to tennis for sure. I am, as I said, I am too passionate about tennis, and I think, it has to be something related to that, or maybe in the F&B space as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. One very harsh feedback you have received.
Harsh and very honest. I think that I did not give a lot of importance to financial statements and financial data, and I think that's changed over the last 1 year. I think all the information of your company lies in that data itself, and I think I've learned it the hard way, but it's the most useful, honest, brutal feedback that I've ever got.
Fantastic. Personal or professional life, which one would you pick if you have to pick one?
Yeah, I would say that's a tricky one actually. Maybe professional, because I think if this falls in place, this is what does not keep me sane, and I think that's the life we've chosen, as founders, and I think you can figure it out personally. आप कर लोगे उसको manage.
You're married?
Not yet.
Okay, so then it's a comparatively easier
Yeah.
choice for you right now. One wish before you die.
To meet Roger Federer in real life.
This should not be that difficult, but
I hope
effort
so.
needs to be made.
Exactly my point. I think I have said this enough so many times, and maybe I'll manifest this, but meet him in person. Yeah, it's just something has been there on my mind for too long now.
Yeah. So if ever you meet and you put it up on your social media, please tag me, given that I'm helping you manifest it.
Absolutely, I'll do that. And there's something that I've written, and I like to show it to him as well. So maybe all of that.
Wow, that would be an epic moment for all of us. Thank you so much, Pranav, for coming to Badhta India Dekho.
It was a pleasure being here, and lovely conversation. that we had. I think it's also brought a lot of things sometimes that you don't think about on a day-to-day basis out, and I think it was lovely. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that. Well, what an interesting episode, right? Pranav actually told us the intense operations that they go through. In fact, मुझे तो पता ही नहीं था that 90% of their business right now comes from B2B and just 10% from B2C. And the kind of stories that he told us today of various kinds of people reaching out to them and eventually saving lives. And the last thing that he said about the biggest myth, that ambulance is for the dead and dying. No, it's not the case. Ambulance is for all of us and actually is for saving lives. For companies like Medulance and many others who are into such initiatives that are changing the society for the better, hats off. देखते रहिए बढ़ता इंडिया देखो for similar episodes in the future, and please don't forget to subscribe.